Hi to everyone. Today we are here with Mirko Felice, Senior Analyst at Citi, and we will let Mirko present himself.
Hi, Francesco. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time and having me today. So as Francesco said, I'm a senior analyst at Citi Group. I was, as many of you, I guess, part of the ESCP Finance Society. I spent 3 years at the ESCP because I was part of the double degree with Politecnico di Torino, so from the engineering school in Italy. At the ESCP, I graduated with the majors in banking and finance and finance de marché in Paris and London. After that, I did an internship in equity capital markets at ABN AMRO in Amsterdam. Then I moved to London to work for Berenberg in their investment banking and equity capital markets team for more than a year. And now it's a year that I'm with Citi as a senior analyst here in London.
And Mirko, when did you first realize that you wanted to work in finance?
Well, it's actually a thing that developed through time. I've always been interested in finance since I was also in high school. Also because like my parents, especially my mom, works a bit in the field, not in banking, but still. And it's something that again developed through time. I decided to do financial and management engineering at Politecnico di Torino. Because again, I was interested in the financial field, but I wasn't really sure about what specifically I could do. And then when I had the chance to do the double degree with DSCP, I really jumped on it because it's the best way to combine both worlds. Engineering is still quite technical field and doesn't necessarily give you the tools to crack the job market. Well, of course, the DSCP helps you a lot in that. And also the internship activities that the internships that I've done during the years, starting from the one that I had in finance in a corporate like Whirlpool, and then moving to investment banking. Every step of the way helped me to understand what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I see. And did it help to be part of different societies during university? I saw that as us, you also were part of the finance society for the market division.
Yeah, definitely it's helpful. I've always suggest to other students of the SCP to join these societies. It's always good because you are surrounded by people who have the same interests as you, that might know something that you don't know. So it's always a great collaboration environment for students to bring out the best out of each other, and to get to know things. Again, like you might know something that another guy doesn't know and vice versa. So it's a way to brainstorm and collaborate together towards the same objective. And then it's also a way for you to learn, because like if you're I was part of the market division, so I was focused on every market news. We were writing articles about it. We were trying to also organize events with alumni of the SCP, so also trying to create a network. So definitely it's something that is very helpful. And for those who are not part of societies, please do. Could be finance, could be consulting, whatever society, but ESCP has many. And try to leverage also the network that comes out of it.
Yeah. And about the importance of being in a target university and advice for non-target university, you already talked about the fact that being at the SCP could be really helpful in order to enter in the labor market. But
well, definitely having a good name on your CV in terms of university helps, but it's not everything. Of course, when it comes to very competitive selection processes, like could be for investment banking, it's definitely helpful. To be part of ESCP or Bocconi or London Business School, all these big universities. But if you're not a student of these universities, you can still find a job in, you know, one of the main banks, in my case, or even whatever big company you're looking for. The suggestion that I would give people and students is to, when you're not part of a target university, is to try to differentiate yourself doing something else that could, you know, pop out of your CV, and when someone reads your CV could say, oh wow, like this guy or this girl has something different. That could be, you know, a certification, could be a sport that you do. For example, at Citi we have in my division there are two guys who were professional rugby players. So they started their career later on, but for sure their experience as professional sport people was definitely helpful for them to get in. Because again, you might not have the big name on your CV, but still you've done something else that could be of interest. I like a sport, again, could be an example of commitment, of discipline, of many things. So try to do something that, of course, apart from being a proficient in, you know, in your classes and your exams and your grades, to do something different that, you know, can say something about yourself that is not just, okay, I'm a student and I'm from a top university.
Since you talk about having something different, I would like to ask you about the CFA, because I saw that you took it, and I would like to know if it's something like a must, or it's a plus. What do you think about it?
So it's not a must, definitely not a must. In whatever division you want to go in in an investment bank, it's more beneficial if you do equity research because it's highly valued there. But again, it's not a must. I did it because I thought it could be helpful for me to, you know, gain some more knowledge, to be, you know, more proficient in interviews and in the, you know, in the selection processes. Also, again, not necessarily like, again, the CFA is one of the things that differentiate yourself, because people know that it's very tough, that it needs a lot of commitment, a lot of time, a lot of studying. So it can tell something about yourself that is not necessarily, okay, I'm a good student. It's still studying, but it's something that you want to do. You're not forced to do it. And it shows that you really had commitment for a lot of time to study and, you know, to achieve something that is known for being very difficult and very tough. Then, of course, in terms of knowledge, it helps because you learn a lot of stuff that can be helpful in your interviews. Again, definitely not a must. I would say a nice to have. It takes time. And so if you want to do it, start as early as possible, because then when you start working, it's quite tough to, you know, keep going and
time also.
It takes a lot of hours. So you would, you know, give up a lot of your weekends if you want to keep studying it when you start working.
Okay. And about your internship in equity capital market, did you like it? It wasn't exactly what you think at the beginning.
Well, it was definitely a good experience. It was my first experience in investment banking, and it really helped. ABN AMRO, like, it's leader, you know, in the Benelux and Nordics region, but it's not, you know, as big as it could be, for example, Citi or Goldman Sachs or JP. The team was very experienced. There were a lot of seniors, which was, you know, which was good for me to learn. And also another good thing is that it was not just, you know, the typical 4 weeks 4 or 8 weeks internships like the normal summer in big banks, but it was 4 months. So definitely, you know, a good amount of time for me to, you know, learn and understand what I was doing and where I was. Because if you don't have enough time to get used to all the processes and all the stuff, it's difficult then to say, do I like it? Am I good at it? Because, you know, you always have to find a balance.
Also repetition in order to understand it.
Exactly.
At the beginning, it's all new, so it could be all nice, but
exactly. And it takes time to get used to that.
yeah.
So it was definitely helpful. I worked on a couple of transactions. Of course, you know, as an intern, you do very basic things. but still being involved in projects and have the good thing that I was pretty lucky. I had a very good buddy at the time, so she was taking a lot of time to explain me stuff and to walk through all the processes and everything. So it was definitely helpful as an experience overall.
And about your experience at Berenberg, was that instrumental for breaking into Citi at a senior analyst level? Like, what did you learn?
Well, Citi was a great school, I would say. I joined as an intern and then I was converted as a full-time analyst. It was a very, very challenging experience because we were building the team from scratch. I was covering Southern Europe, so like Italy, France, and Iberia. And the team was built when I joined. So we were like 4 people when I joined, and we ended up being more than 20.
Wow.
So a lot of growth, of course, like, between 2021, 2020, 2021, and 2022, like the market was booming. So we were extremely, extremely busy. So it was tough because, again, I was working a lot, but I had the chance to work on so many different things and so many different deals, so many different companies, and also had quite a lot of responsibilities for being, just as a junior analyst, because being the team not so big and having so much to do, it was inevitable to have a lot of responsibility sometimes, which definitely made me grow probably quicker than I would have in another situation. Also, having responsibility of interns, staffing them, controlling what they were doing. So I passed from being an intern myself to being an analyst, but sometimes also doing the job of, a senior analyst or associate. So it was definitely helpful. And then I worked on some transactions that I really liked, and that left me something, not only from a professional experience, but also personal, which is definitely a plus.
So the other question was about like working as an analyst versus associate, in like difference in terms of what they look for, competitiveness, how to differentiate oneself. Like one thing is obviously you have responsibility over others, I guess.
Yeah, because like on your day-to-day job doesn't change much, so you're not that senior to not doing slides or not
Yeah.
doing manual work, let's say. So you still do that, but the thing that changes, and also talking with some friends, or even like some people in my team who are associates, doesn't change much in your day-to-day, apart from the fact that you start having responsibility of other people. And you also should start to think, let's say, strategically, in the sense that you should start proposing ideas to your seniors. So bring some added value that is not just doing the operational work on a daily basis. So it's probably a bit in between, because you still do manual stuff, because you're not senior enough to avoid that, but still you start to manage other people, so analysts and interns, mainly interns, but still also some analysts. And you should start contributing a bit more on a strategic level to the tasks of your team.
And do you like this side about the strategic perspective? It's something that you like, or?
Well, definitely, it's the most interesting part of it, because doing slides sometimes can be slides, or analysis on Excel can be a bit boring, or especially if you don't have the full picture, can be even sometimes a bit frustrating, because you say, "Oh, why am I doing this?" I'm lucky because I have seniors that always explain what they want and why it's needed. Um, but it's definitely a good thing to start thinking strategically, meaning, okay, we have this client, what could be the best way to propose, I don't know, product, to propose a deal, what are the analyses that could be beneficial and that could be useful. So it's the most interesting part of the job, I would say.
So are skills of skills, let's say it's a 50-50 at this point. or more
Yes,
skills?
definitely, because you should also start developing more soft skills. You have maybe access a bit more to the client, and again, strategical thinking also helps. But I would say also at an analyst level, you should also have some soft skills. It's not just about staying on the desk at your keyboard and doing stuff.
Okay.
So soft skills are also very requested during the selection process.
And about the application process at Citi and Bergberg, like number of rounds, brain teasers, pre-recorded
So
requests.
Nuremberg, it was 4 rounds. I did 4 interviews, and actually was the same at Citi, because I was kind of an external hire, so I didn't follow the full process with tests and everything. When it comes to external hiring, you go, through a screening, of course, but then you go directly to interview. So it's a bit different than being, the summer analyst, because I've done all those processes as well, which are very, very cumbersome at times. But yeah, the number of rounds were 4, of course, progressing through the ladder from more junior to more senior people. And also there, the mix of question was hard, their experience and the motivation of why you want a job, and also what you were doing before. So of course, when I was interviewing for Citi, what I was doing at Bernberg, which were the deals I worked on, what was which were my tasks on the deals. And then of course also some technicalities that of course are definitely, I don't want to say must-haves, but very nice to have. That of course they always ask when you do interviews.
And could you talk more about the team dynamics at Citi and the focus areas you have been involved in?
Yeah, well, I focus now also on always on non-equity capital markets. We're split in coverage regions. So every team has a geographic coverage. I cover mainly emerging markets, which of course have been quite hit after the breakthrough of the Russia-Ukraine war. So not very easy period. And in team dynamics, it really depends. Like I have, of course, an MD, a director, a VP, and an associate in my team. I would say up to the director level, it's quite flat. Of course, the MD is a very, very senior guy within the firm. So it's, I don't directly work with him on a daily basis, but with the director, I do. And so it's quite flat, I would say. We have very nice conversations. We always discuss about stuff, which is good, because again, as I was saying before, it's not okay, Mirko, you have to do this, but it's always a discussion and say, we have this situation, we should do this and that, what do you think, should we do it differently? So it's very flat, I would say, in terms of hierarchy. And I know that also in other teams, in other coverages, is the same, because of course we're all on the same floor, and we work very closely to each other. There is a lot of collaboration even between teams, both within equity capital markets, but also outside of it, because of course we collaborate with all the other coverages teams. We work with other products as well when it comes to more complex deals. So I would say it's a very healthy environment, which is very helpful to grow. Each one of us also has a mentor, which is always a senior level, and everybody has it up to VP level. So also VPs have a mentor that could be a director or a managing director. For example, I have a VP myself, so analysts and associates usually have VPs, and VPs have directors and managing directors. Which is definitely helpful, because you can ask whatever. You can ask advice for a deal you're working on. You can ask more broader question about your career, what you should do, what you should develop. So it's definitely helpful, and as an environment, I really like it,
You
honestly.
never stop to learn, let's say. You
Yeah, also because your
something.
daily life is always quite diverse. So you get in the office, you never know how the day is gonna turn out.
Yeah, that's really give you a perspective about like also the complexity of the world, because even if you progress, you need always a sort of support, because having a different point of view could be really helpful, I think, especially for example in your case that you're working in coverage. It's you need a really wide knowledge. So I think a
Yeah,
different point of view could be really helpful.
it's true. And also when we work, since we don't have a specific sector expertise, like now I'm working, for example, on a renewable project,
Yeah,
and then I'm working on a tech one. So you always, for example, what I always do is try and to go for a coffee with the guy of the sector team to understand a bit more what they do, or even try to book some time, just on a one-on-one to discuss the project. Again, it's not something that you can do on a daily basis because you have your own stuff. We're all very busy, but what I try to do is always to understand more the specifics. And then again, going back to the collaboration, we always have this collaborative environment where also among juniors, when we need something, we always try to help each other. Like if I need some material, I go to the guy who's covering, I don't know, the UK. He may have an analysis that I don't, and I might need. So we try to share a lot within the team. So we're not like in silos that everybody does what he has to do and that's it. But we always try to leverage on each other, which is definitely helpful.
that's really important, I think, in every company. And will you consider moving from investment banking to private equity or venture capital in the future? And based on what you understood, is there a right sequence of roles one should pursue, or you think it really depends by who you are, your career path?
Well, there is, always kind of, I don't want to say prescribed, but kind of preferred path. So, the investment banking and especially, strong M&A experience is always advised. But I know that it's not 100% of the times it works that way. So it really depends on your experiences. For example, I know some people went to PE working in private capital markets, which is a team that we have as well. And I'm involved in a lot of private capital transactions now, because of course the market is going much better with respect to the public equity market. So I know a lot of people who work in private capital and then move to PEs, because like working private capital, you have the direct relationship with the private equity investors and with private capital investors, which are ultimately the buy side. And a lot of them then moved to private equity. So it depends. My answer is it depends, but of course, if you have strong M&A background, it definitely helps.
Okay, okay. And about your different experience, so equity capital market, you did an internship after you have been an analyst at Berenberg, also your experience at Citi. What are the top two things that you learned on the job and on each of these experience?
Well, in terms of deals, the three banks are quite different. ABN AMRO very focused on the Benelux region, which has its own characteristics and features. Definitely great experience to start, as I said. Berenberg focused on mid-cap companies, which are very different to what I'm doing now, because of course Citi focuses on much bigger deals and much bigger companies, and the dynamics with the clients are completely different, in the sense that of course in mid caps you usually, not always, but like most of the times, you have founder-led companies where the founder has a strong decision power within the company. So you always have to deal with
Very vertical.
Complex personalities at times, but also, which is not easy. Working at Citi, of course, clients are much bigger, sometimes very institutionalized. So very complex organizations, maybe sometimes they could be even government owned. So with very different dynamics, and the deals are much more complex and much bigger. So in terms of deals, I learned how to, to deal myself with different type of companies and different type of execution processes, which is very helpful. And overall, which is probably, even I would say a suggestion for students like you and all the guys at ESCP is to, always be reliable, because at the end of the day, what seniors are looking for is reliability and precision. You will find out that they don't always have time to check everything that you do. So they have to trust that you do a good job. Like if I make an analysis, they will not look at every single number, at every single formula. They just want to have a result that makes sense. And you have to be trusted that you can deliver that kind of result, and that you're not going to write a number for the other, or that, the analysis that you're doing are actually correct, because they don't have necessarily the time to go through it, number by number. So be reliable and trustworthy, be precise, try to be on time. And if you're not on time, say it. Like if for whatever reason you don't think you're gonna match the deadline, you're gonna meet the deadline, it's fine as long as you say it, and say it in advance. Like if you have a deadline and you realize that you're not going to make it because maybe you're staffed on other stuff, just say it, so that the seniors are aware of the situation and can try to find, a way to meet the deadline anyway, or to, postpone it or do something. Because it's definitely, and it's again part of being trustworthy with your seniors. It's always good that they have the pulse of what's happening. They always have to know what's happening, because again, they're super busy doing a lot of stuff, and sometimes they might forget something. So if you then go to them last minute and you say, oh, I didn't do this, then they are in trouble, because at the end they are responsible to deliver. So try to simplify the life of your seniors. Like as a junior, that's your job. Try to do your best to simplify their life and to be trustworthy, so that you can deliver the best job possible and you'll be rewarded for it.
And about the networking, what is your main tip? Let's say, how can you use it to break into competitive roles?
Well, try to, speak to as many people as possible, in the sense that try to understand what they do. I know it's not easy, because like I've been in your shoes, so I've done like everything, texting to people on LinkedIn, trying to call people, get coffees, whatever. And not always it's easy, because you try to contact a lot of people and not everybody could be available, because they're busy, they have their own lives. But be persistent, so don't give up. If someone doesn't reply to you, it's fine, go to someone else, or try to reach out again. Try to contact as many people as possible, also to have the broadest view possible of what they do, and try to get as many information as possible, which is the most important thing. Because the more information you have about a company, about the selection process, about the job itself, the better you can do in your selection process, and the better also you can target the companies, the specific position. Because like it's very broad to say, oh, I want to work in investment banking. Yeah, but what? You want to do M&A, you want to do debt, you want to do equity. And of course, I understand, because again, I was in your shoes not so long ago, that you just don't know because you've not tried. So the more information you have, the better you can target your applications, the banks you want to work for. And it's also very helpful to try to, I don't want to say skip the queue, but still try to move your CV throughout, the tons of CVs and tons of applications they receive, which is always helpful. So I don't want to say necessarily find a mentor, but try to, get to know as many people as possible to find as much information as possible. So that at least you're aware and you make, decisions on the base of what you've learned, and not just, randomly apply or randomly say, oh, I want to do this, because you are actually at the end of the day you don't know. So
also this could make the difference at the interview, because
that's
if
definitely.
you have an answer that is really precise, this means that you
like if you, for example, if I don't know, if you apply for Citi and you ask me about, of course, something that I can talk about, some public information, some public deals that I've done, and I can tell you about it, and then they ask you at the interview, oh, is there something, is there any deal that that we've done, and it's definitely helpful. Again, you stand out of the crowd, which is not easy because the process is really competitive. So again, the more information you have, the better it is. And this is why you should create a network, because the more people you know, the more information you're going to get.
And about the languages, I saw that you have 2 certification, like for Spanish and German. I don't know if you had the chance to work on it more, but
Well, definitely knowing more languages is beneficial. The SCP, like we have a lot of Italian or French speakers as well. Spanish, of course, for us Italians is a bit easy to learn, but like one of the things that is good at the SCP is that usually people know more than just English and their native tongue, their mother tongue. It's helpful, especially if you work probably in smaller banks, or if you cover specific regions, like if you cover France, if you cover Italy or Germany as well, it's beneficial for sure. If you cover, like I do, emerging markets, like everybody speaks English, because you're never going to know, I don't know, Arabic, or it's difficult that, Greek, for example, or Polish, these kind of things. So definitely it's an asset. They ask for it, but it's not a must-have. It's definitely a nice to have, because it could help you in the selection process, because you can leverage on, you can say, oh, if I speak French, I could cover the French market in a more proficient way, because France and Italy, for example, are very, very focused on their own language. Like there are even people who don't speak English at all sometimes. And it happened to me on some deals at Berenberg that, like, the founder, for example, was speaking just French or just Italian. So it's definitely helpful, but not necessarily a must-have.
okay. And last question about an advice that you would give to the younger self. You are still really young, but let's say really at the beginning. What
Well,
is the advice?
yeah, when probably if I had to go back to when I started university or when I started the SCP, is try to be, again, more aware and more conscious of what the jobs were like. So again, having more information about the career path and what is needed to succeed or to follow a career path. Like, as you asked me, what is needed to go to PE or venture capital, or I don't know, if I want to work in markets, or if I'm really interested in markets, what I should do, what are the requirements, because like it's not just studying the subjects that you have at university, but also something that could be more specific, some news that you should know, some, I don't know, things that you should follow, again, to stand out and to be not just part of the crowd and be another guy or another girl who just applies to a job in investment banking or PE or venture capital or whatever. So probably I should have done a bit more of networking, and again, try to do as much as you can. So spend as much time as you can to talk to people, and to get as many information as you can. Be prepared technically, because sometimes in internship, they don't, especially during the process, they don't necessarily ask you too much about that. But I can guarantee you that when you are on the job, if you know already some stuff, it's definitely beneficial. Because like if I have to staff an intern and I have to spend, I don't know, 1 hour explaining what he or she has to do, it's fine. But if I have to spend 10 minutes because you already know how to do some stuff, it's definitely helpful.
Thank you really for all the experience that you shared with us. I am sure that will be really helpful for all the finance society and all the SCP students for sure. So really thank you, Mirko, for your time today.